says we're live.
Does it say we're live? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll assume we're live. There's always a delay, so
You're live.
we're good. Okay, good. Sorry about that, people. It's just there's a delay between YouTube and our software. Software says we're live. YouTube doesn't always say we're live. Anyway, welcome to Paranormal Pulse and Paranormal Discussions. And today's kind of a grab bag. That's what it's titled. And hey, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
Hope everything's going good, Lisa. Glad you're with us. Anyway, this is Cordell, and I'm joined
Hey, Bob.
by
Hey, Bob.
Carrie and Dave. And hey, Bob, how's it going? I don't know if three entitled us to be called a gang, but I'll go with it. Are we supposed to call Bob Uncle Bob?
He's Lisa's
Yeah,
Uncle
yeah.
Bob. He's Dave's Uncle Bob.
It's everybody's Uncle Bob.
We always call him Bob. It's Uncle
Then
Bob.
I think we need to say Uncle Bob, Carrie. So we'll say that from now on. So today, guys, is kind of a grab bag. I do have some EVPs and some videos lined up. A couple of them we played on our Facebook broadcast last year. So those that watch that will recognize one or two of them. And as always, guys, I try to post everything in the chat onto the live stream. And I want to explain the reason for that if you're wondering why I always post it. And that's because if we lose the live stream, we lose all the chat. And if I upload the live stream again to replace it, all the chat's gone. So I always try to post it on the screen. That way it gets recorded with the video stream and it never gets lost. Now, if I miss somebody's chat, I do apologize. It's just so I rely on Carrie and Dave to say, hey, we got another chat or something in case I miss it. So anyway, hopefully everybody's doing good. And I know, Dave, you mentioned a couple topics for today. What I thought we would do is maybe touch on one of your topics, just get kind of a summary on one of the topics you mentioned earlier, why I queue up an EVP that we can talk about also. And one of the topics, Dave, you mentioned was something to do with interdimensional. Do you want to kind of summarize your view of what maybe, because this goes into what apparitions could be, right? Or what we think they might be, or a possibility, or maybe it's like 10 different things that we're experiencing, from the actual dead to multi-dimensional stuff and everything. So I'm going to cue this up. I'll let you and Carrie chat about that for a minute and take it away.
Yeah, one of the theories, and one which I know I've had a couple of encounters which supports that evidence. I mean, it isn't 100% supporting the evidence because there are some different encounters, but the view is, what if what we are seeing is not dead? What if what we are seeing is alive in their time? And therefore, times just somehow glitch together briefly. You see them, they may even see you, and the story I liken it to is one of the investigations I did years ago was at this big farmhouse, and I know I've mentioned it before, but we were making a lot of noise in the kitchen. It was a training center with work, making a lot of noise, and we heard this really angry footsteps coming down the stairs next to us. Leading to the stairs was a door which was locked from our side, so there was a key in our side. and this thumping came down the stairs. Tried the door, and the door handle was moving again and again. And I quickly turned the key to open the door while it was like violently moving, and there was no one there. So what is to say that the individual didn't hear us in the early 1900s or whenever it was, heard a commotion in his kitchen, decided to come downstairs to investigate, opened the door, and there was nothing there. So two kind of times glitching together. I think that's quite a feasible idea, to be honest.
What's your thoughts on that, Carrie?
I've always kind of said there's times, I think, where just picture like waves, and at some points these 2 points hit, and for brief seconds you have a bit of them and they have a bit of you, and then it's gone. So I absolutely agree with Dave. I think we've talked about that many times. Yeah, I think it's very feasible.
It's interesting how these things can interact, and and now there are some times, and I know Cordell, you hate the expression, but when people say residual, there are some where it looks as if you were just witnessing them moving around, walking around in their own time. And I don't know, I think, to me, I really think that it is something like that, or there is more feasibility in it being a time glitch or a different dimension. Time is just all these different frequencies, and every so often they collide. I think that's probably more feasible than the kind of the dead person coming back and wanting to move on, I think, sadly. But I think that, that could be it. I don't know. Like nobody knows, huh?
I never understood people saying they're wanting to move on. That is just, I don't get that.
But if time isn't linear, just say if past, present, and future, is it happening all at the same time? I mean, or is it more concurrent, and therefore every so often you can dip into it, and I think it's according to the scientists, which is pure theory again. I think it's easier to glimpse the past than glimpse the future.
I have to correct you there, Dave. Actually,
okay, correct us.
The only part of time travel that actually has been proven is traveling into the future.
Yes, I know.
Because technically, right now, Dave is actually how can I explain this? So it's like GPS. The satellites, the time for satellites and GPS always has to be corrected because there's a time differential, and it's because one of the bodies is actually further into time, and you can go into the future, but you can't travel backwards. That's where the paradox, and that's where the issues arise.
Perfect example is my birthday's May 10th. My sister-in-law's May 11th. I was thinking about this last week. She's in Michigan, so she's 2 hours ahead. So for 2 hours, we're the same age, even though mine's the 10th and hers is the 11th.
Yeah, and so Dave, just to, I don't know, hopefully this will make it better, is that, so if you're on a paranormal investigation and say that story you just related to everybody about the door and everything, they then under physics could actually have traveled into the future, forward into your time. You weren't traveling to their time, they're traveling to your time.
Yeah, but you're seeing each other, aren't you? You're kind of, you for a brief second can see them and they see you, for example.
Do you think that the strength of that connection can lead to whether you can't hear them, you can see them, or you can hear them but can't see them.
Yeah,
Full blown, I see, hear, and that.
I think it's a glitch. I don't think you're physically, kind of traveling. I think it is a glitch. As you move faster, time slows down.
Yes, and that's why, yeah, time goes faster on the Earth to an astronaut that's traveling to,
Yeah,
say, Mars. He would experience time at a much slower rate, even though perception wise, he wouldn't notice any difference. On
yeah,
Earth, time would have gone by much faster. That's why an astronaut coming
yeah,
back to the Earth, even during the moon landings, um, he actually was slightly just a hair younger than if he would have stayed on the planet. Now we're talking very minute minutes of time
right.
in that case, but um, that's actually that's how time's a weird thing. So I just want to add to you and Carrie's debate on this was or discussion was that um, it kind of fits into the residual stuff because I'm not a big fan of
Yeah,
residual, that there's this mindless thing that somehow in nature is recording it and it just plays over and over. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't buy that at all. But it could be associated with the time stuff you guys talking about because Dave and Carrie, we are creatures of routine. Monday through Thursday, for example, my routine's the same every day. I get up at the same time, I get my coffee, I take a shower, I get dressed, I do the same stuff because it's a work day, and I leave the house at a certain time, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and so my point is maybe what people call residual hauntings are actually a glimpse into the past. And I also want to throw out one last thing, and that is real quick, multi-dimension, the concept that there's this bleed over a perception of another dimension, that and i.e. another earth, that we're seeing glimpses of another world, the multiverse, sorry, another universe. So if there's an infinite amount of universes, then maybe we're experiencing just a little um, the veil being broken there. And so I just wanted to throw that out. So, you guys, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah. I think everything I've witnessed could tie in with that kind of time glitch. Um, seeing things, hearing things. We have got a few anomalies where where these things can, or whatever this phenomenon is, kind of asks, can ask a question. Here they are again, or they're here. Let's get out of here. All this kind of stuff. But I think the majority of what I've encountered would fit into that kind of glitch scenario. But like I said, no one knows.
Carrie, go ahead.
I think if this is random glitches, then you're never going to get responses to your questions. You're never going to get the same person twice, or so there's a downside on that part. But
Well, and you're and yeah, I we we've had so many things that seem to be direct responses to us that I and the other thing is, we'll mic and put video in a building, we all leave the building, nothing happens. We return to the building, stuff happens. I can't reconcile that. Now, the other aspect, I guess we could be in a matrix, huh?
Okay. Yeah.
The glitches is just a bug in the computer program or something. So,
A simulation covers everything. You know?
and and obviously, some of this, it's just us thinking out loud. But uh, I've had a lot of encounters that seem to be directed directly towards me, and I know we all have. Um, and if it's um, any of these time slips or anything like that, whatever we want to call it, since none of us are physicists or of any type, that I still have a hard time because you're absolutely right, Dave. There is cases where they don't seem to be aware of us. We have gotten audio that has no correlation, at least it doesn't appear to, with us or anything we had said or done.
Yeah.
That does happen. But there seems to be a mixture, so I don't know. But any
That's
last thoughts on that? And I'll play
and
this clip.
yeah, and that's why we do this, because we are just trying to build up this jigsaw puzzle. We've got a few pieces, lots more to go.
Yeah. Carrie, any last thoughts on that?
I still think some of it has to do with the person. So the living
Well,
person at the time
and
that we're
Carrie,
considered as alive.
and to that, Carrie, it's interesting because that kind of, for me, goes to, do we create the activity ourselves without knowing it in some weird way that we don't understand? Um, Now that's obviously just one pathway. The other part of that is it's the individual that has a connection with something, a ghost, a spirit, whatever you want to call it. And but as you know, Carrie, there's many paths down that road, right? Yeah. So anyway, we can talk more about this, but I do want to play a clip. This is a fun clip, I think. I think this one's really fun. It always makes me this one makes me laugh and then go, WTF. And I know Carrie likes this clip, and it's fun, and she'll know as soon as she hears the investigator's voice on here. So let me know if you can hear it. I'll try to up the volume. Uh, and actually, this is the location we can talk about. And Dave, yes, you were there many times. So uh, let's see. Here we go. Peekaboo. Okay. Did you hear that one? Do I need to play it again?
Okay, can I play it again?
Yeah, here we go. Peekaboo. So here's the EVP part.
It's a trumpet.
Well, I'm going to let Carrie. I think I want Carrie to speak to this one first, because this is like, you can see my face. I'm smiling, even though it hurts me to smile. Um, and it hurts me, guys, those out in the chats, because I had some dental work and it hurts to smile. But this one makes me smile. I can't help it every time I hear it. Go ahead, Carrie. What's your tell
This was Max and myself investigating, and he had a friend with him, and we're back by a piano, and it's so quiet, and Max goes peekaboo, and then it sounds like a parrot replying. It sounds just like a parrot. We didn't hear it, but when you're listening to it, think of a parrot, and then listening to it now, it almost sounds like a parrot trying to say, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. It's odd, but it's good.
Yeah, Dave, don't say anything yet. I'm going to play just the EVP part,
Yeah.
and here I'll play it twice. So, Dave, what the hell is that, Dave?
It sounds like a musical instrument to me, like a horn or a trumpet.
I'm in Carrie's camp. When I first heard it, I was going, what the hell's a parrot doing there? Because it
It's
sounds like
hard to hear. We're losing a lot of it coming through this, but
oh, you don't hear
Yeah.
it very well.
No,
no.
well,
Let me let me up the volume as it's gonna clip, but we'll try it. Hold on. I'll see if I can get up just a little louder. There's also there's a background noise, guys, because I think it was the air conditioning. Might have been the heating, but I think it was the air conditioning was on. So here's just the EVP part. Yes, Lisa, bizarre. Okay, Dave, you still just hear an instrument? I hear a parrot. I swear to
yeah.
God.
I hear an instrument. Yeah. Trumpet.
Yeah, I hear a parrot. It sounds just, I agree. I mean, to me, it sounds just like a parrot, either trying to say what Carrie said or trying to mimic Max's voice. And that's the result. Oh, we got Bob. He's got a.
Just as like it's me, Bob.
You can hear the original clip. It's
Yeah.
it would give a whole different spin on it.
Good. If you can send us the original clip, I'll have a listen to it sometime.
Well, I mean, this is it's on the site. It's uploaded.
But that's about 30,000 on the site.
Well, this location we can actually name.
All right. What's the location?
Yeah, it's Gray Cliff. You were there.
Oh, great. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, many times. And it was, remember where the piano was?
I remember
And there was-
very clearly where the piano was.
And there was a dining room table.
Heard many a tinkle on that.
Yeah.
And some off key singing.
Oh,
Yeah. And a bag of potato chips.
it's when the forces of the paranormal come together with one of our investigators and had harmony.
Anyway, no, and honestly, far as uniqueness, and you guys don't have to do this, but I'm gonna rate this. This is in my top 5 far as really unique, strange clips that we have captured. Carrie, what would you agree with that? This is like in the top 5 of strange clips.
Strange, yes.
Well, and if it's a parrot, that's also rather unique, guys, because we do capture animals and we have, but they're actually pretty rare. Animals are. If it truly is a parrot. Now, if it isn't a parrot, so let's play devil's advocate, guys, here. Could this have been one of the sisters, Carrie? Do you think that at all could be a human kind of humming, but lyrically what Max was saying?
But Max was saying peekaboo.
Right.
Where does
Well, the human would be finishing the whole line, because the old line is peekaboo, I see you.
Yeah,
I don't hear I
can
see you.
We'll play it one more time and then we'll go on. But regardless of what, because we'll never know if that was a human or a parrot. It sounds like a parrot
or an instrument.
Well, okay. Well, we'll give Dave the instrument. But if there is that little teeny chance it could have been a human trying to playing along with what Max was saying. I'll play the whole thing one time and then we'll move on. Let me get it going here.
Peekaboo.
Fuck. No.
It's got a singing tone to it.
Yeah, and so in my mind, if it wasn't an animal like a parrot, or
Trumpet.
Instrument, David, an instrument.
Definitely an instrument.
If it was a human, because I think that's a slight possibility. It still sounds like a parrot. It sounds just like a parrot. But and they could have had a parrot there. We don't know, but there's no record of a parrot being there. But could have been a parrot there. If it's just bizarre, guys. Really, truly bizarre. Sorry, every time I change the screen boxes, the numbers of boxes, it defaults back to the big. It defaults to this, and I hate it, and I can't get it to default to that. I like that view much better. That's me. So anyway, I think that's one of the most bizarre things we've ever captured. I think it's in the top 5, definitely the top 10, without a doubt.
That's just interesting, that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of a fun clip, and it's funny because every time we've played it, it makes people smile because it's just, what was that? That's strange. And a lot of our clips don't make you laugh, but that one does. So I like it.
I'll send you that that EVP of that spirit telling one of the investigators to shut the F up and stop playing the piano. So it's the first time I've heard one complain about the music they're hearing.
Yeah. Well, paranormal investigators never complain about the dead, do we? We never complain about the dead. They shouldn't complain about us. Anyway,
one of us saying that.
What?
It could have been one of us saying it.
Could have been. I do. Let's see. I'm going to play a video because I think this is quite an interesting to talk about. And again, we've played this on our Facebook broadcast, but not on the YouTube one. So let me get it set up here, guys. Let's see. There we go. And Carrie, Dave, you probably know what this one is by just seeing it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you both do. And so I'll play it. And here we go. There is no audio to this for anybody in the chat. And you can see this was 9 years ago, guys. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but by damned, it's been 9 years. Hopefully you guys can see that, can't you?
Yep.
And I'm going to put it on repeat. So it'll just play over and over and over as we talk. And so as you can see, Dave and Carrie, and you guys know this one by heart, there's this light flashing around. Let me take the solo off. There we go. So it's just going to play as we talk. It'll just continuously play. Lisa, that's an interesting. I guess it could be a cat.
It sounds too musical, doesn't it? Like, I don't know.
I guess and yes, Dave, it could have been a horn. So, okay, on this video, I think we'll start with Carrie. And I do want to add one thing, Carrie and Dave, before just to this, is that we had another camera looking at it at a different angle the first part of this light you can actually see come up from the atrium and go up over the rails on the floor of the wall. At least one of the lights from a different camera, um, which is interesting. So, Carrie, take it away.
This is third floor, and that's back by a room I like. And actually, right before those lights happen, I'm the only one upstairs. I don't have a flashlight. I'm in the dark, and I walk into that back room, and then within a minute at the most, I hear Cordell and Dave walking me, asking me if I have a flashlight. And I'm like, no, I don't have one on me. I don't have any light source. And they're like, do you see the lights? And I didn't see any of that. And then you had me come down and watch it on camera, and I never saw any of the lights. But I'm in that room. The light came and from videos takes a hard turn into the room, but I never saw any of it.
And Dave, you were there. Me and you were both there.
Yeah, I
Now,
remember. Yeah, I just sorry. Go ahead.
well, no, hold on one second. I just want to point out. So we've told this story of Carrie or Dave. It's mainly Carrie and Dave in the story that a ball was thrown at Carrie. This is the hallway, and the ball is right there. That ball was just like that when it was lifted up and thrown down that hallway at Carrie. So I just wanted to point that out because this is a great view of that story for people to get an idea. So the other thing is, again, if you look in the video, there is something that travels down the hallway. It's not a light. It actually comes, see that right there? That was actually traveling down the hallway. It's not a light. So the very first part of this video, you'll see something shoot down the hallway. It's not a light. It's round. I guess maybe it's dust. You can call it dust. So go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. Also, that corridor is where we saw we'll call it the skirt or the half a lady. There's a lot of things happening in that corridor. A lot of things happen on that third floor, or the second floor, depending upon which country you're from. But I think at the time, I just assumed, that Carrie had accidentally knocked a flashlight, a torch on, and then she said she didn't have any, and she didn't because we had to go up and get her because it was pitch black, and she couldn't. I think we had to go up with a light source, but it looks like it does come in, and it's interesting. That time when I was in there by myself and yous were elsewhere, and I had, this room is where the rain was falling down, like I'll call it ectoplasm rain, and the same light appeared on a different camera, and you could see the light just come in the same way as if it had. So it seems to be a repeat of what I saw years later, as well.
Yeah, and I think it's critical, Dave. I think it's critical to understand that definitely that first light appears to come from outside the room, entering the room. And I wanted to point out, Carrie and Dave, that this continued on for like 15 minutes. It wasn't just this. There was more lights that appeared for minutes after this, but the camera didn't pick them up. But we saw them on the monitor, but for whatever reason, the camera didn't pick them up. But they were closer to the ceiling, bleeding over into the hallway, which was really weird. But Carrie, I'd like you to comment because this hallway, as you guys have just pointed out, there's a lot of activity. I misspoke there. activity, activity. Yeah. Apologize to everybody out there. Hold on. See what Robert has to say. Uh, anyway, this hallway seems to be really active. How's that, Dave? Uh, and
Yeah.
the ball was thrown. We saw an apparition go down here. Carrie's had more experiences than I can count down this hallway. Okay, Carrie, take it over.
Yeah, that area there is the most active place for me in the whole, whole place. I just get more there, feel more there. But this night, yeah, I didn't have any light source on me to create that. And I'm already in the room, and the light comes from outside the room and in. We did go in other times with flashlights and swung them around and still couldn't create this look. The other flashlights lit up everything. So it's my favorite place.
Dave, what's your thoughts on this? So, okay. So we started this broadcast off with, oh, well, here's a bunch of stuff that, what about multi universe stuff? What about interdimensional? What about all this? This is interesting because this would not be classified as an apparition. And we've discussed this, guys. What is an apparition? Is an apparition only something that looks human, a human shape? Or could we be seeing an apparition just in a different form? Do you think this is a spirit, Dave? Or if not, what else?
Hey, might just be something that's not tuned in right. I know we've discussed it before. You may see a ball of light traveling up the stairs. You may see an arm and a leg. You may see different parts of a figure. It's. I mean, if this light is something paranormal, I mean, because we probably still aren't sure. I would probably never class it. It's unknown. It's definitely unknown. Then yeah, I mean, there's a chance that it could be, you could be glimpsing something, and this is the way that you are seeing it as. I mean, it's interesting how the camera picks it up. I don't know if I mean, I think at the time we were in base camp directly watching it. Yeah, I think it was only Carrie up there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we radioed up to her. I don't know.
That's right.
So we walked up to her and asked her, "Do you got a flashlight with you?" And she said, "No, my flashlight's off." And we're seeing, and it went on for, I don't know, it was 10 or 15 minutes, somewhere around there. So, but here's I kind of wanted to discuss this a little bit because an apparition, everybody assumes, okay, if it's shaped like a human, then it's a spirit of a human.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't look human, everybody puts all these other labels on it. So my question to both of you, is this just a spirit but in a different shape, and they can take all different types of shapes and forms, and from very small to very large? Or are we dealing with dozens of different things? And does this have a mind? If this has a consciousness, then what is it if you don't think it's human? Anyway, there's the lead in. What do you guys think? We'll start with Carrie. Thoughts, Carrie?
Well, for me at that time, I wasn't seeing the lights, but I was experiencing the feeling of actually somebody in there just kind of weighing me down. I was wound up sitting on the floor in there, backed up against the wall. For me, it was feelings. I didn't see the lights. So it wasn't until afterwards when you guys brought me down and showed me the lights that it was like, could that be tied to what I was experiencing, or is it something completely different?
Well, so Carrie, direct question to you. Do you think that what we're seeing on this video, is it a dead person? Is it a human spirit?
I couldn't say it was or wasn't. It's just
Okay.
a light source that goes into the same room I do, but just basing off looking at a light, I can't say that it's human, not human. There's not enough information.
Okay. Dave, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's the same. I think it's unknown, Cordell. It's a light source or an energy source giving off light. It looks very much like a light source. You know, to me, it looks very much like a flashlight. Yeah, could it be? I don't know what kind of. Could it be a manifestation of something? Yeah, we just don't know. That's. I mean, that same area we've had. We've had. That's where you felt somebody creeping up on you at the far end that time. That's where
Don't go there.
that's where Bob had his Derek Acora moment up there. So there's all sorts happening up there.
So, okay, let me ask both of you this. Do you think there's a consciousness to that light, Carrie?
Not enough information to make that same statement. That's no different than really asking the question you just asked. So,
Dave?
If there's an investigator in there and it isn't coming from the investigator somehow, then it would suggest that something's checking the room out, wouldn't it? But once again, it's unknown, Cordell. I cannot comment.
Yeah, see, and I would say just how it's acting, I'd say that there's a good chance of consciousness because it is going directly where the investigator is, i.e.,
Yeah.
Carrie. And it didn't stop anywhere else. It didn't go into another room. It didn't just stay in the hallway. It went right into that room, right? So
Yeah.
it had some form of direction, at least it appears. And I'm not saying 100%, I'm just saying it appears to. So let's see, Lisa. Yeah, well, I agree, Lisa. So how do any of you have any ideas how we could ever go about determining what something like this is? Is there any possibility ever, do you think? We'll go with Carrie first.
to get the exact same type of light, watching it on camera, we don't know. I didn't see it, so we don't know the intensity actually of it, the size of it. I mean, this is just a brief second on a camera. And like I said, for me, the lights don't really play as much as what I was feeling inside the room. But to get that, and probably never going to get the same, even close to it. So it would always be just enough difference in each one to, so most light sources we can find where they're coming from.
Dave?
On one hand, it did look like energy entering the room. We'll say, inquisitive. We have seen a light source moving up the stairs as if it was someone physically walking. It was at that exact pace and motion. What's to say that these things aren't just, not tuned in manifestations? I honestly don't know. To me, unless we had instrumentation in the room measuring it, or some of the instruments, if they had a spiked or whatever at that particular time, it might give us more information. At the minute, it's just a video.
Is it something that is leading up to something coming, or is it something that is after something's been? And there's just so many questions on it.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And good discussion there. I don't know. It's interesting because it does seem it has some direction. It's going to a room where a human's at. So I find it interesting. And that hallway there, Carrie, as you know, is highly active. It's probably as far as experiences. Now, I have to use a caveat here because we as investigators tend to migrate to the areas we experience activity. So you end up spending more
Yeah.
time in certain areas. So that's my caveat to what I'm about to say is that hallway, that section, that side of the building seems to just be on the surface, it seems to be 5 times more active than anywhere else. Just tons of stuff. But I had my caveat is, we tend to migrate to where there's activity. So,
That area has always just been, for me, the spot is just the area that a lot goes on, that I go experience a lot. And, you go to another room or whatever, and I go this direction. And so
Is it still fairly active? Is it?
for the
Oh,
women, yes.
for me, well, it's interesting. Dave, far as guys go, I think you've experienced probably just as much on that side than anybody. You saw the ball. I never saw the ball being thrown at Carrie. You did.
Yeah, yeah.
I I saw an apparition 10 feet from there, and
Yeah.
then me and you saw, and as Carrie knows, every investigator that's ever gone there has seen some form of a black shadow at some point. Um, just tons of voices. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's but my question is, well, let me ask Carrie this because Carrie's been there more times than even I have or anybody on the team. Do you do you honestly think that section, that hallway, that video was showing, do you think that if we broke it down that would absolutely be the most active overall, not at any given point, but overall?
Yeah.
Because and the reason I said overall is because Dave, as you know, there's been times that like even on the first floor, me and Carrie's been there, or you've been with us, Dave, where another section for that investigation, I'll just like go crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
But overall, if you take all our investigations together, I would agree with Carrie. I think that hallway, that section.
But I don't believe what's there is stuck there. I believe it can go anywhere in that hotel.
Oh, yeah, that it's not locked into that location. What's your thoughts on it, Dave? Any?
I think we've had more experience on the second floor. From a, it was mainly a lot of there was female interactions on the third floor. I think, and I never really had much in the way of interactions on the third floor, which likes to carry another women have had in the group. I'm not sure what yourself, Cordell, but I know the second floor for me, I had probably more interactions with like room 28 and other locations like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's funny you brought that up, Dave, because I'll let Carrie speak to it, but it's kind of the tradition is the guys in general, not every investigation, but in general, have more
Yeah,
of their experiences on the second. Women in general have more on the third. I think it's 50-50 on the first floor. I think the first floor is just really weird. I can't explain it. There's been nights there that it's just blown up.
Yeah.
And then, but 90% of the time, not that much seems to happen. But let me I don't know. The first floor, I'm struggling with this now because I had a cup knocked out of my hand on the first floor. I've smelt decay and BO. And
That was just investigators.
well, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it wasn't investigators either. We've had a lot of just what others might call not the most positive experiences on the first floor.
Yeah.
And real quick, Carrie, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I'm just
Second floor,
curious.
I've had a lot of experiences on second floor too. It's third floor for me is a deeper um, connection, but I've had a lot on second floor. A lot of, I mean, even the last investigation, David, I had someone. I felt like someone was taking my hood and putting it up over my head. Downstairs, we've all seen and felt different things. It's felt like there's been times I felt like I was just prey, like something was stalking around with movement. It sounds like someone dragging, to knocks, to stomping, to dark shadows, to hearing a man reply directly into my ear twice. And I was yelling at Cordell, thinking that's not funny. And this guy twice, Claire's could be in my ear.
Can you
I
guys still
I
hear me?
originally am the one that smelt the rotten. It smelled like BO and rotten flesh, and it kept coming up on me. And it was a couple investigations later, it was happening again, and no one believed me. And then it happened to Chris. Then it happened to Cordell, and then it was like, oh yeah, there it is. But first floor is. I always feel like first floor wants to separate people. It wants
Hey,
to deal with one.
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Because my whole screen just went white. I can hear and barely see you guys. So I'm not going to touch anything. My mouse is doing the Microsoft Circle, just spinning. So it looks like we're still live and everything. It's just the software and Google Chrome is not responding for me. So you guys just keep talking.
Yeah, Coyle, I mean, we can still see you. You're still the same on the screen. It's there isn't any change from our end, from what we can see or hear.
Okay, because yeah, my browser is not responding. So I was going to bring up another. I was setting up another audio, and yeah, I got the famous Microsoft. That's just spinning in a circle. My mouse. So anyway, just continue. And sorry for those in the chat. I can't push anything. So I don't know if it's going to come back. It might never come back. So uh, I love all those technical issues we keep having. But so continue on that subject. And I'm going to see. I'm afraid to try to restart this or anything because it might just
Yeah.
blow up. So anyway, I was going to bring up I was going to bring up an audio and I had another video to play, but we might not get to it. So it's interesting talking about EH, guys. Now, let me ask you guys this question. And I think this ties right into what you guys were just talking about, EH, and that is EH has been the place that we've experienced everything, right? Just like this video, we filmed lights. Dave saw weird stuff raining from the ceiling on the monitor. It looked like um, ectoplasm or some weird stuff. Carrie's experience all kinds of stuff like you just mentioned. Do you think if we went to any of our other locations, if we went to them long enough, would we experience all those things? Or do you think it's potentially possible to experience everything that we have at at other locations? And the reason I'm asking this, because if this is all truly paranormal, what we've experienced, then technically we should be able to experience all the same stuff at any location. What are your guys' thoughts on that? We'll start with Carrie, then go to Dave. And
I think it's possible. We've all have talked about it and at times said this is such and such. This is, from the hotel, or that doesn't mean that experiencing things at different locations is the exact same as the intensity wise and that, but I think it's possible.
Dave?
Yeah, I think it's highly possible. You could set up cameras and everything in your own home, and in time you'll have the same kind of. You'll pick up EVPs. You may catch some video footage. I think it is highly possible that anywhere where you go can see this level of activity.
So, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I just got to make sure because my screen that I'm looking at is totally frozen. I can't do anything. So if that's the case, so I guess then one could make an argument that you don't need multiple locations to investigate if your whole goal in the paranormal is to try to understand or figure out what these phenomenon is, because you wouldn't need multiple ones. You just go to one location over and over and over for the next 10 years and never worry about another location. What are your thoughts on that? I'm going to go down and see if I can reset my router real quick. So go ahead.
I think that if we in that location we did try to if we could have rented it for a period of time and just kept everything in there running 24/7, it would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
But what we've got are like snapshots of times, aren't there? I think there was once we did like a 3-day thing, where we kept everything in there and just kept changing it. That was interesting. I know Bob was there for that one. That was, but I think if we could leave something running continuously and record continuously, then obviously it's having the time to review it because it's in real time, I reckon any location would kind of show us what the hotel's been showing us. I know there have been some really weird things in the hotel. Actually, that's I'm not sure. Yeah,
I think locations that we go to and we have experiences, in a lot of ways, they're very similar to things that we've experienced. Like we have a baseline, and on this baseline, it's, not one investigation, but if you could go to the same location multiple times a year or whatever, day in after day out after day in, I do think we would capture a lot of what's been discussed out there. And that would you need any other locations? Well, you still want them because you want one that you can continually going back to try things out there to see how they tie into other investigations, and in some ways help us to break apart other investigations. You need you need more than just one location. But I also think going one location and never going back is, I don't think that's very helpful.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it is good having variety as well, isn't it? It's there are some locations we've gone to where there hasn't really been a lot, and there are some which are really, phenomenal. And I think it's some of the locations. The first time you're in there, that's when you get a really good feel for it because you're new in there. You've got
Yeah.
no conceptions, because I think with the EH, we've got some preconceptions now. We know where the equipment's going. We know what to expect. And then there could be biases playing into that. So you're right. I think it is good.
Other locations, like we said, when you go in and you set up, we spend 8 hours or something in there.
Yeah.
Really to go back and be able to take possible evidence that you caught, put it into play. Can it be debunked? And by going only once, the odds of being able to go back and debunk stuff isn't that great. Whereas if you can go back with what you've caught, put that into play, try to go off that to whether you want to give an explanation as to why such and such happened. It's not paranormal. To, okay, this is just leading more into what we don't know. So,
But it's a good question, Cordell. I'm not sure if are you there, Cordell? Are you?
Yeah, I just sent you guys a screenshot of my screenshot.
It's. I think it's a good question because we cover more investigations to try to get I think we cover more locations to try to get answers quicker. But on the other hand, if we were to just remain at one and have a targeted approach, then you're right. Maybe that is the right way. I don't know. I know that this phenomenon is everywhere, though. It's even in your own home,
Yeah.
Sorry, Cordell. I just think so. There's a few comments going in, but obviously,
Yeah, I was gonna say if one of you
yeah.
could read Robert and Lisa's comments, because I can't do anything on this side.
Yeah, so Robert, so Bob said, is that the ground floor? I think that was a joke because it's the first floor. So Bob to say first floor in the States, which confuses us. And then he said, I have heard a bit interference over the conversations. I've heard a voice saying Carrie, and I keep hearing footsteps. And Lisa said, yes, I keep hearing a woman talking. Bob, I did last week as well. So they're hearing some interference.
Oh, that they're talking about the broadcast.
Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
I can hear things sometimes, Cordell. I just thought just interfering.
I'm not gonna say any more on that. I'll let others talk to that. All I'll say is I'm not surprised that they've heard that. That's all I'll say. Carrie, any thoughts
on
any of this on Robert or Lisa's comments or?
Well, yeah, I hear things come through and that, but going back locate, but at the same time, people that have groups that have taken over a location and they're charging people to come through and all this stuff, and they're not venturing out, they're not opening their mind to other possibilities with other location, that it's okay, this is the end all of all locations, you're going to experience everything here, and I think that's a downfall. So
Dave, any thoughts?
If you, I mean, just from what they're saying in the conversations there, if in effect, this is like a remote conversation, and in locations when you have conversations, you sometimes hear things coming into that conversation, like an EVP. This is just like an EVP session, really, just remote,
Well, Go. One of you read Lisa. She just commented. Um,
Yeah, Lisa said this week was much louder.
Now, this is what I do want to comment on what Lisa and Bob are hearing, because this is encrypted. This is over SSL, uh, directly on this broadcast, which means, and this isn't a radio or anything like that. Now, so the stream itself, there's no way that voices could be interjected across the ether. This is Ethernet, and the protocol, um, uh, IP and stuff. There's no way. This is all encrypted. So if you're hearing stuff, I just have to mention this. It would have to be coming in at one of our locations or all our locations
Yeah, yeah.
prior to it being encrypted through the stream to YouTube, which is also encrypted. So it would have to be coming through our own audio, any noise or voices. There's just absolutely, technically speaking, no way that that can happen once it's on the internet. The stream is going to YouTube. There's just no way. So it would have to be on one of our audio or at our locations. And I defend that statement because there's just absolutely no way other than at our current locations. So
Yeah, and I mean that's what I was thinking. It could be coming through from the locations rather than interference.
well, let me add this. It depends on. I'm not using Wi-Fi. Mine is Cat 6 Ethernet cable. I'm not using Wi-Fi on my PC because I mentioned this because if you're using Wi-Fi, if it isn't encrypted, Wi-Fi could technically maybe pick up some transient, but most Wi-Fi is encrypted. You'd have to go out of your way if it wasn't encrypted. So if you're using Wi-Fi, I don't know what Dave and Carrie are using. I'm hardwired though through Ethernet Cat 6, so which is also shielded. So anyway, it's interesting. So Lisa and Bob out there, if you hear a woman or voices, if you can make out what's being said, please post because that would be interesting. The other thing, guys, since I'm locked up here, I can't do anything. I can't even click on. I can't even click on the browser or anything. Um, and so I'm totally dead in the water here. If the broadcast all of a sudden ends, it'll probably be because of me and that my browser just totally dies. It says it's already dead. It says not responding and it's dead. So I'm shocked that we're still broadcasting, guys.
This is life after death, you know.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I hope hopefully death will be a lot smoother than life is, but we'll find out, I guess, at some point. Yeah, so please post if you hear a voice, even if you can't make it out, just let us know because yeah, it's really bizarre. So I missed part of the conversation, guys. Since I planned on showing another video and another audio EVP, which obviously I can't now. Uh, I missed the first part of your conversation. So let me add, so I'm just going to blanket this for Carrie and Dave. If you had your choice right now, let's say EH, we'll just because it's our favorite, it's one we go to the most. If you could lock that in for the next 10 years, with the caveat that you would not be able to investigate any other location, would you do it? And we'll start with Carrie first, then we'll ask Dave.
I would still want to go other places and experiment and try things. and that, but I'm a little different, so I don't think I would have the same response as you guys in that fact. But if that's all I could have, I would take it. But no, I still want to go out and try places and really want to go out and debunk all this BS claims that others have put out there, and really just build data and all that, but also with just personal experiences for myself, build off of that. So
Okay. Dave, what about you?
Part of us likes to see like new places and the history of the new places. I really love history, but from a scientific, or we'll say a more scientific perspective, we should keep the same location. We should fully deck it out and try to get to the bottom of this, because I think, by moving into new locations, I think the value of having over 200 investigations plus at that look, is that we have pinpointed areas. We've got the information which has been built up over time, so we're heading in the right direction. We just need to go further. I think the danger with new locations is you start again, really, don't you?
but
So
I don't
maybe,
understand the question. Are you saying one other location and still have the EH? Or are you saying EH, nothing else? Or are you saying EH and the ability to go
So
to an endless amount of locations?
no, so I'll repeat the question. If you could lock in EH for the next 10 years and you could go there anytime you wanted for the next 10 years, no questions asked, but you'd have to give up going anywhere else, would you do that?
Now I see where Dave's coming from in that aspect, but then also if you're in a location 5-6 years, all this stuff is going on, how can you apply or test things outside of that? So for me, having a backup location to test things would be important too.
Yeah, and real quick, I would answer it is no, I would want to do other locations also because whatever you experience at one location, that's just one window into what you're looking at and what you're trying to figure out. The more you can spread that out and the more places you can go and apply the same tests and then compare the results between multiple locations, I think as investigators we're better off.
But not just going once. I mean, if you're talking, I'm talking about another location that you can go to often, just going one location and then going somewhere else, and just every investigation's a different a different place. No, that I'm not.
Well, the idea of the
test.
The idea of the question kind of was that because Dave has favorite places in the UK, I'm sure, could apply the same question to any location. That if you could lock down this one location and only go there, but that would mean you can't go anywhere else. The reason for the question is the diversity of it, and it goes back to what we were talking about. Because the EH, for example, we've experienced probably almost everything imaginable in the paranormal. It keeps surprising us, believe it or not. But and other locations that we've gone to 20, 30 times, nowhere near the diversity of stuff we've experienced. And so that's part of my question. Do you think that, because my earlier question about a half hour ago, one of my questions was, do you think what occurs at the EH, this huge variety of experiences, is possible at other locations? And that's why I asked this question is because it is so diverse and we know it so well, would you be willing to forego any other location if you could have this one for 10 years anytime you wanted it? And that's kind of what I was getting at.
But then that kind of can't be, because like we said, we know that what we're capturing isn't just stuck in that location. I truly believe they somehow, some way are here at home with us, to, not just locked into a certain room at the EH. So then if that's the case, have an exclusive for 10 years is impossible.
And Lisa, am I covering up the light you're seeing flashing? Because Lisa asked if can you see?
Yeah, I sent her a little a text just saying yes,
It's my
it's you.
computer that is betraying me at the moment. So I feel totally useless here because I can't do anything. I can't even just blindly click on stuff. So anyway, no, it's an interesting question because if you believe anything you've encountered throughout all your paranormal investigating can happen technically at any location, then theoretically it shouldn't matter what location you investigate, right? If you believe that a location is special and that there's more things that can occur there, then maybe you would want to just stay there and do that one if for all the reasons, right? For the
Well, let me
experience.
ask you a question. We just
Okay.
lost Dave.
Oh, we did.
Do you think things that we encountered at the EH can still interact or change a person at a different location that we go to? Different locations. So,
It could. Yeah, I think there's all kinds of possibility. Oh, you know what? Even if Dave comes back on, Carrie, I can't bring him into the because I can't click on anything. uh, yeah, I can't. He hasn't come back yet. I don't see him, but I can't click on anything. We might have to. Oh,
that's me. I sent out a
yeah, Dave's gone. Well, the good news is that we're into this an hour 20 minutes, so we're only 10 minutes off our normal time. We might have to end it, Carrie. Well, me and Carrie can talk and see if Dave. I can't click Dave back on if he comes on. He hasn't come back on yet, though. So yeah, and I just asked the question, Carrie, because I think it's an interesting question going back to the paranormal questions. Because in a way, it's what a lot of people experience at their house, right? They're not paranormal investigators. They live in this house for 20 years. They experience all this activity, whether they want to or not. And it's kind of the same question because they're stuck in their house. They're experiencing all this stuff, but it might be directed in such a way that only one member of the family is experiencing it, or three members, or maybe the whole family's experiencing it. Maybe it's not a big deal and they like it. Maybe it's and so they're experiencing one level of paranormal that could go on for years and years, and they'll never, and in those type of cases maybe they'll never see an apparition. Maybe they'll never have anything physical happen. Do you know what I mean? And so Dave is I see Dave is trying to get back
you can
in.
still see and hear. So
I
he's
can
waiting to be
see and hear
invited.
you waiting to be invited. I
I
can't.
don't have that ability.
Um, Dave can't. He can hear me. Dave, I can't click on anything. Um, I have to click you in, and yeah, Carrie can't do it. Only I can. In my, I'm totally locked up. So yeah, I just I see you, Dave, but I can't click on you. Let me let me try something. And Carrie, just in case this doesn't work, and this. Oh no, Dave, I hear you, Dave. Carrie, do you hear Dave? Oh, Carrie does. Only I do because it's waiting to be clicked in. Okay, guys, I'm gonna prematurely. I hope we're gonna say goodbye just in case this kills the session. But Carrie and Dave will stay on because maybe this won't kill the session. But yeah, I hear you, Dave, but nobody else does. So I'm hearing Dave. I'm okay. So we're all gonna just. I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody just in case this kills it. I hope it doesn't. So let's see. Okay, that absolutely did nothing. Okay, let me try. I'm gonna try something drastic here. Let's see. And what I mean by drastic, I'm trying to bring up Task Manager. Oh, geez. Oh, man, if I do that.
I
Well,
just want to
Carrie,
throw a question out there, and it's for everybody, whether we answer it or wait till next week, is do you feel that a location or what you encounter in a location can change an investigator in some ways?
that's a good question. Very good question. I'm trying a couple things here,
Top of
guys.
mind, it says error occurred, but we're still.
Carrie, do you want to read Lisa's?
She says yes, and then she goes no.
Is she covering all her bases?
Yeah, so I'm not sure what the no's do. But I do just want to say that I appreciate Bob and Lisa's comments on Sundays. Really enjoy having them with us. And Lisa, yes, you have to go live with us sometime. Bob's going to. We need to get Lisa on too.
Yes, Dave, you can hear me. When is Bob gonna join you on this? Is that next week? Week after? Oh, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
Okay, so the last end of the month. So Bob, you'll be joining us. So we'll have to get Lisa on here. I'm still trying a couple things. Nothing seems to be working. I don't. Carrie, you got another? Because that's actually interesting. Maybe a couple of the questions you posted in the paranormal private were interesting. Also in Paranormal Pulse, I think you posted one of the questions. You want to ask those to everybody and see?
Well, one is in the paranormal field, what is one thing that you believe is 100% fact, or that you 100% have the answers? And I just asked why, and I didn't want to put my response because I just wanted to see what people had to say. And let me see if I can reword what I said. I've asked a couple things. This one, what did I actually say?
Dave just responded, Carrie. I guess this is his universal answer. He said spirit boxes don't work.
Oh yeah, no, that's something else I asked. I'll read that one, but what is something you feel is 100% fact in the paranormal field, and why? And I have one answer to that, which I imagine is going to be the same as you guys, but I didn't want to say it yet. But, you know, it is, if someone, so Cordell, what would your answer be?
On which question? Sorry, I've been pushing, trying to.
Let me get back to it. What is something that you feel is 100% fact or factual in the paranormal field?
One, oh man, that is a tough question. That's a good question. Uh, I could be a little flippant and say, well, here's what I'll say, because I truly believe this to be 100%. There is some form of consciousness that exists beyond our physical realm. That's
100% that
yes,
you can prove to everybody out there it's 100%.
yeah, yeah. I think I can put a case together to prove. I think there's enough data that we've collected to prove that exists.
100% I don't.
Some
I
form
think
of
there's going to
consciousness.
be people be, to me, the 100% is we don't have the answers.
Yeah,
So we do not have the answers, and we'll never will totally have the answers. That is the only thing I feel at 100%.
yeah. I about 7 years ago, I was 100% convinced there's some form of consciousness that we don't understand there.
Yeah, but I'm talking about you're convincing other people too, not just yourself.
Well, see, I could be, and this is where I said first, I said I could be flippant, and so here's my flippant response to that is that I can't help if other people don't recognize that aren't smart enough to see the data and be able to analyze it. Because if you analyze the data that
Still not 100%.
Pulse has, for example, you can't walk away thinking anything but there is some form of consciousness that exists. I think we've proven that. Now, granted, are we in the business to? Now, the good news is we're not in the business to go out and try to convince people.
You're right. There is nothing that's 100%.
Well, there's nothing in 100% that everybody would be convinced of because there's people that still don't believe we went to the moon, and therefore you're never going to convince 100% of the people. But I think if you broke down the evidence that we've captured and broke it down scientifically, I think there's only one conclusion you can come to. Now,
but we don't have those distinct answers to that either. We've got a voice, but we don't know anything else beyond the voice.
No, so I will.
It's kind of a trick question, but
no. Well,
we always say is we don't have the answers, and anybody that tells you they do have the answers, roll your pants up.
Yeah, and my response isn't necessarily an answer that there's some form of consciousness. That doesn't indicate that it's dead people. It doesn't state that it's any of those things other than some form of consciousness. Now, having said that, it's interesting because I 100% agree that we don't have answers to is it dead people, is it parallel universes, is it is what is an apparition, what is balls of light, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have the answers to those. But it's interesting too because there's varying degrees. If you go by a court of law, criminal or civil, those are different bars that you have to reach. Civil's real easy to prove, and then if we go by scientific, that's a lot more difficult to
You're just walking around.
No, it's because the question
just direct, just a straight out.
Yeah, I did.
Not an explanation.
Wait, stop. I already answered that. I said that I believe there's some form of consciousness that exists. Is 100%. My point is that scientifically it's a lot harder to prove, right? Because part of the scientific theory is repeatable. And I would say we can repeat the EVPs over and over and over. That is repeatable. Is other forms of evidence that we've gathered repeatable? No. And we've experienced more visually that we didn't capture with a device than we did with devices other than maybe voices with EVPs. But we've proven that's repeatable. We can take people to certain areas, and given a few hours, you will get voices recorded over and over. We can repeat that. That's why I'm pretty confident that there's some form of consciousness. And that's my, so I'm not dancing around it. That's my actual proof. The reason I brought up criminal and civil court, because that's a lot easier to
But it's
prove.
never going to be 100%.
Yeah, and so if you go by American court, as far as proving a case, it's a lot easier than the scientific in this area to prove scientifically. Scientifically is a bigger challenge, but I think we can repeat the EVPs over and over, and that's part of what you need to do in the scientific theory is repeatable data, repeatable results over and over by multiple different people and groups and be able to analyze it. That's why I'm pretty confident in that area. Now I could be totally wrong, and that's fine. But no, it's a good question. It's a really, really good question. And
The
Dave,
other one is do you feel locations or investigations can change investigators? Which I think is a good one. And another one was, do you believe in the whole stages of possessions? And, you know, people are always talking about possession. Well, I want to hear why and what are people believing in and as to why, and do you think it's possible? And open all
yeah,
that up, get
yeah,
that topic out there. And because fortunately that's going to lead a lot of people into believing other things, whether they're taking a scientific approach or not. And I'm curious as to what the majority of people have to say and why, and then how does that change your ability to investigate, or how's it changed the atmosphere or locations that you're living in? I mean, they all tie in and that. So
no, they're all great questions, and I encourage the people in the chat. We'd love to hear your responses to those. And if you're listening to this later on after this recording, yeah, go, post it in the comments. What
there's,
you're,
do you feel investigators can get themselves into danger by so-called entities and all this? I just
well,
want to rip that lid off and find out why people are believing this. Is it because of things they're experiencing it? It's things that they're learning by watching TV and all that fun stuff. So
and we'll have to do a kind of a whole show on some of this stuff. And one of the questions I would ask everybody, do you believe anybody has actually been killed or murdered? Technically, it'd be murder by a spirit or an entity. I'd like to hear what people think about that too. These are all
yeah,
great
you
questions.
know, I like to sit here. Do you really believe somebody can change who they are by where they're at and who they're investigating
Yeah.
and stuff?
No, all great questions. And please, guys, respond in the chat and the comments. We would love to hear. And we're actually a little past our time now. We left Dave. Dave has been listening, I think.
Sorry, Dave, I can't do anything.
Yeah, I can't either. Unfortunately, it's just, and I'm gonna have to kill my browser, which means killing the session. So I think on that note, since we're a little well, actually we're about the normal time now. So we'll say good afternoon. For me and Carrie, we'll say good afternoon, and for Dave, we'll say good evening to everybody. And
Bob,
Lisa,
Lisa.
Lisa and Bob, thank you so much for posting in the chat. We love to see the chat. It adds to the conversation. We love to hear what you guys think. And like Carrie's already said, do we have any answers? No, absolutely not. We don't have we have very few answers. We can give you our opinion, and everything we talk about, whether it's Dave or Carrie or me, it is our opinion. And sometimes we love to speculate because that's part of the process, trying to understand what's going on. Um, but yeah, it's just our opinions. And there's an old adage about opinions that I won't say here, but we're trying to figure stuff out, and that's what we're trying to do. And Carrie, do you want to go ahead and say good afternoon to everybody? And
Yeah, Bob, Lisa, love you guys. Always look forward to Sundays. Yeah, I want people to hit us up with questions, even if they think it's silly or not possible, or things that they're hearing or seeing from TV to investigations to personal experiences. We're not going to rip anybody apart. We're going to give our opinion, and our opinion may never answer your questions completely or explain why something has happened to you. But I think that you need to discuss everything in this field. Nothing's off limits. You got to just get out there, rip the band-aid off, and go for it.
yeah, well, sometimes it's bigger than a band-aid, Carrie, for some people, I think. So, but yes, I agree.
Love you
And
too, Lisa.
oh, did she? I'm not. Did she post something?
Yeah, she says, bye, guys. Love you. Miss you.
See, I'm not even seeing new chats now. Everything has slowly just died on my end. I'm surprised it's still going, guys. That's amazing to me. Um, well, look, I'm gonna say goodbye and thanks again, guys. If you don't haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. Technical issues this time, not the first time, won't be the last time. But it didn't kill us, Carrie. We kept broadcasting. That's a first.
Any topics people want to discuss,
Yep.
let us know.
Yeah, nothing's off limits. Carrie's already said that, but yeah, absolutely nothing's off limits. We have Dave. We call him Sasquatch Boy because he loves Sasquatch. He loves a good plate of Sasquatch. And so we can talk about any topic. We got experts. If we're not an expert at it, we'll dig one up. We might actually have to actually dig somebody up to for that. Dave, I can hear Dave. He's snickering at me. He's laughing. But yeah, we'll talk about anything in the paranormal, and we love this subject. And I'm glad we at least got to play a couple clips. We like to throw those in, and I have no idea, Carrie, what we'll talk about next Sunday. It could be we might pick an investigation. We might pick some of the topics we talked here today about. And if you have photos or clips that you'd like us to look at or stuff, we can even play it on here and we'll give you our opinion live. We're willing to do that. We don't want to burst anybody's bubbles, but some of your bubbles might be burst if you do that.
Yeah, we're going to be investigating Benson Grist Mill, and I know nothing about the place except for the horrible TV show. So if those other people have been there and have had experiences or claims, we'd like to hear about it because it gives us a goal to go in and try to debunk them or see if we capture anything similar. But I have no clue to any claims there.
Yeah, and that one's coming up.
July.
Yeah, in July or June.
July.
July. Yeah, so that's coming up in July. that'll be interesting. I've never been there. Carrie's never been there. Matter of fact, I don't think anybody in our team has really been there that I know of. Maybe somebody has, but I know nothing about it either, Carrie. Totally know nothing about it. We'll find out though. And maybe after that investigation, because it's kind of a famous one here in Utah and it's known in other states too, in the paranormal world. Maybe Carrie will have to do one of these broadcasts afterwards as our evaluation of it and see how it went and what we captured and stuff.
Who knows? Maybe we could take a couple people with us next time.
Yeah, sounds good. Anyway, we're gonna say goodnight. It's uh, been at this for an hour and 40 minutes. So, and I want to again
Sorry,
thanks.
Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And sorry.
Be
I
safe.
and I loved the pictures you sent for the places you're getting lined up. I want to tell everybody that Paranormal Pulse UK is already setting up investigations coming up. They're going to be out investigating, so we'll have some exciting stuff, I hope, from the UK, England, and Scotland and stuff. I think that's real exciting, Carrie. I know Dave's excited, and I'm sure there's a lot of people on his team that's anxious to go out and do it. So that's going to be fun, guys. Um, and we have a bunch of stuff lined up. As always, we'll be out. Of course, we never really stopped investigating. We've just slowed down a little bit during the pandemic. We've been out investigating basically kind of all along, just slower, not as often. So, and with fewer people, obviously, and stuff. So, anyway, I'm excited for this summer. Summer's just starting. Hey, Carrie, love you. Dave, love you. Thanks for everybody joining us. Sorry about the technical difficulties on my end, anyway. And we'll see you next Sunday. Carrie, go ahead and say goodbye. I'm going to say goodbye for Dave. Dave gives everybody hugs and kisses because he's just that kind of guy.
Cheers.
So we'll talk to you next Sunday and see you, Carrie. See you, Dave. Bye.
Bye.